All right, so we're diving into something today that everyone's been talking about.
hmm
It seems like it's been in the news constantly, the future of work, specifically in tech and how AI is changing everything. We've got some really interesting sources to look at today. We've got some insights from Andrew Ng, data from McKinsey, and then some analysis from a tech career expert. And one of the things that's really kind of blowing my mind is this. We've seen this like crazy growth in tech over the last 2 decades. But then 2022 happened, and we saw these massive layoffs. So is the dream over? Is a stable, lucrative tech career just a thing of the past? And what's going on?
Well, I don't think it's quite as simple as just a boom and bust cycle. What's really interesting to me is how the end of like the zero interest rate period really just
Yeah.
it exposed a lot of vulnerabilities in the tech industries. It's kind of like a grow at all costs model. You've got these companies like Google, Amazon, Meta. They were doing so well, but then interest rates went up and the market corrected, and
Yeah.
suddenly all these cracks started to
So
show.
it's not just tech. It sounds like there are these bigger economic forces at play.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where this whole education piece comes in. Remember, everyone was telling us to learn to code. Like boot camps were popping up all over, promising to like turn anyone into a software engineer. And computer science degrees were like the hottest ticket in town. But if you look at the data, it tells a really interesting story.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of those boot camps that were doing so well initially, they really struggled when the hiring slowed down.
Yeah, I remember reading about some of them facing some pretty serious challenges. Some of them even shut down. But then you've got these like specialized master's programs. They seem to be doing okay.
Yeah, they seem to be weathering the storm a bit better.
Why is that?
Well, when the economy is uncertain, people tend to go back to school. It's like they're looking for stability, trying to upskill. And master's programs, especially in these like specialized fields, they benefit from a few things. A lot of times they'll attract international students who pay full tuition, and their funding isn't as reliant on like immediate job placement after graduation. Plus, they can usually tap into federal loan programs. So that gives them a little bit of a buffer against the ups and downs of the market.
Okay, that makes sense. But here's the thing. We've got all these grads, record numbers, entering the job market right as things are tightening up. So what's going on? Why is there this bottleneck?
Well, this is where we start to see this golden handcuff effect. After the 2022 layoffs, a lot of these tech giants, especially places like Meta, they started offering these huge stock options to keep their engineers from leaving.
So they're basically being paid to stay put, even if they might want to look at other options.
Exactly. These stock options can be worth millions of dollars.
Wow.
So it doesn't really make financial sense for them to leave, even if they could get a big raise somewhere else. And as a result, you've got this slowdown in promotions, fewer senior roles are opening up, and ultimately there just aren't as many entry-level positions available.
That's tough.
Yeah.
So what's a new grad to do?
It's not just about the big tech companies anymore.
Right.
Silicon Valley, I mean, it's still important, but
Okay.
its dominance is definitely waning. And new tech hubs are popping up all over. I mean, look at Miami, Austin, even Seattle is attracting talent and fostering innovation.
And what about remote work? I mean, that's completely changed the game, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I think remote work opens up so many interesting opportunities, especially in the startup world.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, startups, they often need that entry-level talent more than the big tech companies do. And they're not as affected by the whole golden handcuff thing we were just talking about. They're agile, they're hungry for fresh perspectives, they're ready to disrupt the status quo.
Okay, so there's still hope for new grads who are entering this landscape.
Definitely. But I think it might require a shift in mindset. Instead of like focusing all your energy on landing that Google or Meta job, new grads might need to think bigger, explore the startup scene, network beyond their immediate circles, be open to remote opportunities. That's where the real action is happening right now.
It's all about adaptability
Exactly.
and being proactive.
Yeah. And this brings us to another big trend that we're seeing, global outsourcing.
Right.
It's been happening for years, but remote work has just accelerated it, especially for those entry-level tasks.
Right. This is where things get a little tricky.
Hmm.
Because on the one hand, global outsourcing creates opportunities for skilled workers in other countries,
Mm-hmm.
but it can also displace workers here in the U.S.
Absolutely. It's a complex issue. There are no easy answers, but it's definitely something that anyone entering the tech field needs to be aware of. The traditional path, get a CS degree, land a big tech job, climb the ladder. It might not be as straightforward as it once was.
Right, right. So we've talked about the current state of the tech job market, the impact of AI, the rise of startups, and global outsourcing. But what about the really cutting edge stuff? What are the big trends that are going to shape the future of work in the long term?
This is where Andrew Ng's work on agentic AI gets really interesting. I mean, he believes it's the next frontier. It has the potential to revolutionize how we work with technology. Imagine having an AI assistant that can not only answer your questions, but can also plan complex tasks, execute code, research information, even critique and revise its own work.
So it's not just AI doing things for us, but AI working with us.
Exactly. It's like a collaborative relationship where humans and AI agents work together to achieve goals, goals that neither could achieve alone. And this requires a whole new set of skills and ways of thinking.
Yeah, totally.
For example, think about an AI agent that analyzes your code, identifies potential bugs, suggests solutions from this vast database of best practices, and even writes unit tests, all while you're focusing on the bigger picture.
Wow, that sounds incredible. But it also makes me wonder about the skills that people are going to need to thrive in this new environment.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to need people who can design, implement, and manage these AI agents, and people who can work effectively alongside them.
Right.
Think about it. The ability to frame the right questions for the AI, to understand its outputs, and to synthesize its insights with human intuition, I mean, that's going to be crucial. It's not just about coding anymore. It's about collaboration, problem solving, and critical thinking on a whole new level.
It sounds like we're on the cusp of a major shift in how we even think about work itself.
Mhm.
It's both really exciting and a little bit daunting.
It is a time of rapid change and transformation. And I think the key takeaway here is that adaptability and a willingness to embrace lifelong learning, those are going to be more important than ever.
Totally. I mean, we can't just cling to the old ways. We have to be open to these new possibilities and be willing to evolve alongside the technology.
Mhm.
Honestly, after going through all this research and hearing your take on all of it, I'm feeling a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I get it. It's definitely a lot to process. We're talking about like a really fundamental shift in how we work and how we interact with technology.
On the one hand, I'm excited about AI. The possibilities seem endless.
Mhm.
But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little worried too. What does all this mean for the future of work? For society as a whole? Like, what happens to the people who can't adapt or just don't want to?
Those are all really valid concerns, and it's super important that we're having these conversations. The future isn't set in stone. It's
Ah,
shaped by the choices that we make today.
that's a good point. So it's not just about adapting, but like actively shaping the future of work.
Exactly. We need a shift in mindset for both individuals and organizations. We need to embrace lifelong learning, cultivate adaptability, and prioritize things like collaboration and creativity. Those are the skills that are going to help people thrive in this world that's becoming more and more influenced by AI.
I love that. It's not about being afraid of the future, but like facing it head on with curiosity
Yeah.
and a willingness to learn
Hmm.
and grow. So you can't just sit back and let it happen to us. We have to take control.
Well said. And that brings us to a final thought for our listeners. What skills and mindsets are going to be essential for thriving in this new world of work? What steps can you take today to prepare for the challenges and opportunities that are coming?
Great questions. I hope our listeners will keep thinking about these ideas and share their thoughts. We've included links to all the resources we mentioned in the show notes, so be sure to check those out.
And remember, the future is not something that just happens to us. It's something that we create.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into AI and the future of work. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.